Welcome to the Gentleman Geek Corner. I'm your host, Malcolm Trotter, the Gentleman Geek, and this is a place where I can sit and rant and talk to you about all things geek while sipping a gentleman's drink. Also, today we are having wine. I know you're used to me drinking whiskey, but I figure we're talking about Red Sparrow. I would have a nice red. Jennifer Lawrence is this Russian ballerina who becomes a Red Sparrow, a spy for the Russian government, and she gets involved with Joel Egerton's character, who is an American spy. That's really all you need to know, and the rest of the movie involves from there. The one thing that is interesting about the Red Sparrow is, and you can tell this from the trailers, is that they use the art of seduction more than anything, and they're using it to seduce people and to get what they want. They use sexuality. They use what men and women want. They look for the desire that's in people. One thing that I got the entire time I was watching the movie, I kept thinking, this movie is cold. This movie is stark, and it's still kind of elegant and beautiful. A lot of people go, well, of course, it's set in Russia, and it's, like this kind of Cold War esque movie, right? Yeah, that's the surface level, but outside of that, along with that, which is also kind of a stereotype of Russia and its people, is that they kind of stripped away and not very human. And that's not even just them. Everyone in this movie, Joel Egerton's character he's American, but maybe it's they're telling the story as a spy. The guy who wrote the book was a CIA agent, so maybe it's this idea that being a spy and being in this world slowly kind of strips away your humanity. I get that when you're trying to give me that message through a movie, but when the movie is so cold that it is off-putting, right? We go outside in the snow and I want to go, skiing, great. But if it's, 32 below and it's unlivable or it's Antarctica weather, you don't really want to be there at all. And that's how this movie starts to make you feel. It's hard to kind of get in and feel for anyone in the movie. If anything, you can only enjoy it as a voyeur. You can only, in some kind of sick way, as a fly on the wall, because the movie doesn't draw you in enough to want to be any one of the characters or to be with any one of the characters or to really even root for any one of the characters. Now, yes, you're supposed to root for, Jennifer Lawrence's character. I can't even think of her name, but you're supposed to root for the Red Sparrow, and you do but the plot devices that make you root for her are very cliche. She, the idea of almost being raped or sexuality being used against you or never having any power or, a woman being underpowered and using that to her advantage. It's not bad. It's just not good. It's just, it's tropey. And then the character on top of that is she's so calculated, right? That you're not in her mind. She doesn't let you into what her plan is. And that's a standard trope of these types of movies. Like a spy movie, no matter who it is, you usually don't know all the spy is keeping some cards away from you, so at the end of the movie they can go aha and say, look at my hand, and you can go, oh, you got that, although you planned that. The movie does that, right? But in a way where for the character is so calculated that she doesn't let any of the movie goers in on who she is, who she really is, on her emotions. It's just cold. It's just cold. Stark cold. And but that's the bad side of the movie. Now, let me tell you the good side of the movie. I felt myself kind of going in and out of the movie. But when I was in, I was in. And a lot of what brought me into the film and drew me into it was the visual palette. The director of Hunger Games does a really good job, which I was surprised it wasn't that director. Does a good job. I need to sit there. Does a good job of just kind of creating this world for you and using color palettes, using centered shots in certain ways that really are kind of gorgeous. There's this amazing shot right towards the last minutes of the movie that I wish that they would have ended the movie on. Yeah, without spoiling anything, I'll the second half of this I'll go into some spoilers. The suspense and the tension works really well. And I mean, boy, does the movie make you feel uncomfortable. There's moments where you're just like, this is not the movie that you want to watch on the airplane next to the little old lady or a kid, or you're literally going to be looking over your shoulder like, who behind me is watching me watch this? You know? So, a lot of nudity, a lot of very strange. What I found is interesting is a lot of people were really appalled by the sexual nature of the movie and how it uses seduction in a very. It definitely doesn't make seduction a skill look like a good thing, you know, and that's a good thing about the movie. It's not making, it isn't glamorizing what's happening on screen, but it doesn't. It would feel a little bit more impactful if I cared for the characters a little bit more. So that makes it feel like, oh, you're not glamorizing it. You're saying it's bad, but why am I watching it then? Where it suffers is just I never connected with it. I was always like in the movie theater versus sometimes the best movies make the borders of the screen expand. They draw me in, and now I'm lost in the world. This was a very cold, stark world, and I wasn't connected to any one person in this world. So, as effective as some of the brutality and the sexuality was in the movie, I was always a voyeur. I was always just a fly on the wall. I wasn't in the scene. I wasn't in these terrible moments that she's experiencing or going through about Red Sparrow. So now I'm gonna get into spoilers. Spoiler alert, right? Well, let's switch to brutality. The movie is intense. There is a scene where Joel Edgerton's getting his skin grafted off of his back, and it is the most agonizing. I was literally like, I can look. I'm one of those people that can stare right into the face of violence on movie screens. I'm pretty desensitized over the years from just watching a lot of film and being able to sometimes I feel like for the sake of the story you subject yourself to it because you got to be in the moment. That one was intense. There's an amazing knife fight. Probably the only quote unquote action maybe seen in the movie. And it takes place in a kitchen in very close quarters, and just the sounds of the slicings and the movements. It is not your glamorized spy fight. It is brutal and ruthless, almost in a way you think like as brutal as Atomic Blonde got in its fighting style. It still was over the top glorified violence compared to this, where cuts do a lot of damage, and you realize that within minutes, these people could be dead from just a cut. Not a stab wound, but even a cut wound. The fact that you can just bleed out from these things. So that's pretty crazy. Or another thing I didn't kind of quite like is the love angle, the love affair between Egerton and Red Sparrow. And I know that it's weird because she's meant to seduce, so he's meant to fall. She's put in place for him to fall in love with her. So you can never really tell, does he really love her, or is it a product of her manipulation? You also can never tell if she actually likes him, or is it a product of her manipulation? Maybe those are questions the movie's posing, and that's cool. Just doesn't. I don't find that to be that interesting. I will say this. That's another thing I thought was a little forced. When she actually reveals her true nature, and when the Red Sparrow plan is like her cards are shown, you're like, okay, dude, she got him. She gets what she wants. The American Joel Egerton gets what he wants. Another character in the movie, which I won't go too deep, survives, which is good. And then the main villain the entire time is someone closely connected to Red Sparrow. Of course, they're taken down. It's the one moment that the movie does give you of relief and like, stick it to him. But then the next scene is her in all her majesticness. She's going to a show and there's ballerinas dancing, and she's kind of looking at what she once was and who she is now. And she just very coldly walks out and walks down the stairs, and the shot is so cool, and the music, it just builds and builds and builds. And it feels like that should be the last shot of the movie. And then they instead of crashing to black, instead of like giving us credits, they take us to a scene where she gets a call and no one answers, and that's kind of what spies do. And she can tell somebody's on the other end, and somebody's playing the music that she used to play when she was a kid. That when she wanted to be a ballerina, and she used to dance to and stuff. And it's Egerton's character on the other end, just telling her, I'm still out there. I still care for you. Shut up. If you're going to be cold, and that brutal, and that stark, stay consistent until the end. So that's all I really have to say about Red Sparrow. It's not that great. Red wine, drink up. Sunday fun day. It's not that bad either.